So these last 3 weeks I've been testing my game in public transportation and I've noticed a couple of slowdowns at certain places in my game, and so I thought perfect timing to do an optimization video. So let's get started. Hey guys, I'm Ombarus and welcome to another episode. Hopefully, being away for 3 weeks doesn't mean I couldn't do anything at all. I got the chance to spend a lot of time in public transportation, and while I was doing that, I installed the game on my mobile device and I was testing and playing around and checking to see the balance, the tweaks, finding bugs and all that kind of stuff, which allowed me to fix a couple of things along the way while I was testing. And one of the major things I noticed is that when I was using the scanner, sometimes I would get slowdowns. So basically revealing the map was sometimes a little bit expensive. So let me show you what I mean with a couple of examples. So this is what a normal scanner looks like. You can see that there's only the area around the ship that's visible, and when you're moving around, you can only see enemy ships and planets from inside this circle of active view. And the way I implemented that is pretty straightforward. I thought I'm just going to scan every tile around the ship in a kind of circular pattern and either hide or show the tile content based on if it's inside or outside the scanner range. And to avoid having to check the whole board, I thought I'll just compare it with the result from the previous frame so I know what went in and what went out. And I thought this was pretty clever and would allow me to be much faster than a stupid implementation like just scanning the whole board every frame. But I decided to add in the game something called the ultimate scanner that should be my first artifact object that you can only ever find one inside a game. And this thing is supposed to reveal the whole map, which means I had to scan the whole board anyway. I thought I had a pretty good idea of which method was causing the slowdown. Just to be sure, I decided to investigate Godot Profiler to make sure I was actually targeting the cause of my bottleneck. My first impression of the profiler in Godot was actually pretty good. It's fairly simple. You just open your project, you go in the debugger tab, and then you have this tab called the profiler. And it's pretty simple. You just click start and stop whenever you want to start and stop profiling. And then you have a couple of statistics that you can switch, order, by, or stuff like that. Another cool thing you can do with the profiler that I actually haven't seen that many profilers do easily is that often you need your games to be running so that the profiler can connect to it, which means that you cannot do it while the game is starting. But something that I've had personally to optimize very often is the loading time at the beginning. When you're launching a game and you want to know why it's taking like 2 minutes to get into your level or something. And I was really happy to see that Godot actually allows you to do that very simply because you can start the profiler before you start your game. And when you click start on the game, if you go back into the profiler, you're going to see that it actually showed you the very first frame and how long you spent in all of these methods, which is really great for debugging long loading time. I'm lucky because right now I don't have especially long loading time, but I've seen it happen in a lot of game, especially a game with a lot of assets. You end up taking very long, and sometimes it's not what you think that's taking a long time to load. But these are all things that's very nice to be able to profile if you can profile the first few frames of your game when it's launching. So let me show you an example before I made the fixes to my ultimate scanner. For example, when I was playing the game and to make tests for now, I've installed the artifact scanner that reveals the whole map. So as you can see here, I have the whole map revealed, which means that basically every time the ship moves, I'm scanning the whole system. And one of the things you can do is just click on the debugger, I go into the profiler, and then you hit start, and then you'll see this graph appear. And if I go in the game, and for example, I start moving like this, you can see it's really jerky. And then I can hit stop here. And here you can see the frame time, which is highlighted by the color you have here. And you have the frame time, and you can see that while I was moving, the frame time really hurt. And you can you can move the mouse like this to see each frame individually. And let me grow that a little bit for you. I found that selecting the frame using the mouse is actually kind of difficult because there's really not much space between each frame. But hopefully, when you're in the general area you want to be, there's this little box here that you can use to move up and down your frames. And as you can see, the methods here get updated, and you have the time in milliseconds, or the time in seconds, I guess, that it took for each frame. So as you can see, while I was moving, every frame was taking nearly 0.2 seconds, which is really huge. And when you look at it, most of it was spent in the process method, which most of it was spent in the update scan, well, if you can see the whole name, the update scan object method. And even though this is called 13 times, actually, it's all on the same ship, which is my ship, which is the ultimate scanner. With this, I confirmed that my issue was indeed the method I suspected was the problem. It did also allow me to validate a couple of things. So, for example, I always thought that loading in JSONs might be expensive. When I'm loading the game, I load all my game objects that will be shown on the board, and I save the data that was in the JSON in the node itself so that I can access it later and also overwrite some values. I've talked about that in previous videos. It's kind of like the component-based system of ECS. But sometimes I have items that are in the cargo, for example, some weapons. They are not instantiated in the game, but sometimes I need to access some of this information, like how much this weapon does of damage. This is not in the node, so I need to load the JSON every time I want to see the damage. I need to load this data from the JSON. And I was a little bit worried that all these loading every frame, every time I move or every time an event happen, were going to be extremely expensive. Another thing that I like with the profiler is the fact that you can change the measure method. So right now I'm in seconds, but for example, I can change it to percentage of the frame, which will show me that this frame took 100%, of course, but that also is really nice indication, for example, of the update scan object, which tells me it takes 97.5% of the frame, which is completely bonkers. A method should never take 97% of your frame. So it's really, really good to see and to get an idea of just how much 0.2 seconds represents in terms of the whole frame. And for example, like I was saying, the load JSON and load JSON array only take 1%, which is really not that much for something that I know is supposed to be fairly expensive. And beside the update scan object, actually, there's not that many other things that take really a huge amount of time. I mean, yes, the get attribute is taking 20%, which is really a lot, but when you look that I've been doing 6,444 in one frame, well, maybe 20% is not that much. But this is something I have to keep in mind because I know it's parsing strings, it's doing some heavy stuff. So maybe I'll have to try to simplify it, or maybe even have some kind of caching that I will save some values so that if I use the same path multiple times, I'm gonna be able to fetch it from a dictionary instead of, or a hash table instead of getting it every time and parsing the string and, you know, looping through my arrays and my dictionaries and stuff like that. But for now, I think this is mostly because of the update scan object. One other thing you can do is actually change the time to be, instead of inclusive, to be self. And in this case, you see exactly if it's this method that took time or if it's a method under it, something that's being called. So for example, when you do inclusive, you see that the process method is taking 97.6% and the update scan object is taking 97.5%. I can deduce that the process method is calling the update scan object, but if you're not sure, you can switch to self, and then you see that the process method actually takes 0%, but the update scan object takes 14.9%, which means that most of the time is spent in update scan object, and you can see that it's actually the get attribute that's taking quite a lot of time, and not like some sub method inside get attribute, right? And I was really surprised to see that loading even a JSON array, meaning loading a bunch of JSONs in together, only takes like a fraction of a second to load 6 arrays of multiple JSON. So this is actually really good. I was really thinking I have to make some caching for these kind of things, but really right now it doesn't seem like I need to do anything, because especially on PC is usually slower than on device. Devices usually have a much faster disk access time. So if it's so fast on PC, I don't think it's going to be a problem on device. So maybe if I have incredibly huge JSON in the future, when I have like hundreds and thousands of objects that I need to check every time, all the time, maybe I'm going to need to do some caching, but right now it doesn't seem like I need to. And like they say, a premature optimization is the root of all evil, so don't do it if you don't need to do it. But obviously, something needed to be done to my update scanned object. Now, after you've figured out what's the problem with your optimization, you have to start thinking of solutions. And that's the fun part. Fun. The reason for that is that there's a reason why you made the code the way it is right now. It's because it works, it does what it's supposed to do. And now you need to figure a way to do the exact same thing, but do it faster. And usually this doesn't come without some compromise, right? And so that's basically what I did. I went into my code and I checked the scanner behavior, and I tried to figure out what I could do to make it faster. And the thing is it's already trying to be a little bit clever with it, meaning that I'm not just scanning everything. I'm not just scanning like a huge section, hoping that it's inside the size of the scanner or something like that. So I'm already trying to be clever, but the ultimate scanner is just shitty because it reveals the whole map. But I think it's something important. It gives you this feeling that you have something incredibly powerful, because usually you're really closed in. The scanner range is really small at the beginning, and I like it like that because it forces you to explore, and you never know when an enemy ship is suddenly going to come into your sensor's range. And when you have a bigger sensor, it makes you feel superior because you can approach your enemy without him realizing you're here. I was really wondering, is there some optimization I can do to this method that will make it faster, or should I make a hack just for the ultimate scanner, because I shouldn't have any other scanner that needs to scan so many tiles. But in the end, that's what I decided to go with, because I couldn't really think of a better way of doing it. I mean, scanning only the objects in the world instead of the empty tiles is a good idea, but I thought it's probably a lot of changes. It would be quite heavy changes on my side, and I didn't want to do it just for the ultimate scanner. So I decided to keep it like that and just do a hack. So that's about it for optimization this week, but I kind of need to talk to you about something that no one probably really want to hear about, but that's monetization. You see, guys, I've been doing this now for about 8 months, and I haven't monetized anything I've done up till now. All the code I release is for free on GitHub. My videos don't have any monetization. They're free. They don't have any affiliate links or anything like that. I know I need to grow a community before I can ask for you guys money, but I also have to be realistic. I have a family, 2 kids, and I'm living in one of the most expensive countries in the world. So I have to humbly ask you guys, if you have some spare change, please check out my Patreon link I've added at the bottom of each of my videos, and think about subscribing and sending a little bit of money my way. It would really help me finish this game I'm making, make new games in the futures, and keep producing contents for this YouTube channel without me having to sell out to some kind of, affiliate marketing links, or doing some videos about how I found the best coffee online that you should purchase right now from my affiliate links or something like that. And let's be honest, turning on advertisements on videos that get a couple of 100 views is not going to give me much money, and it's just gonna annoy you guys, so I'd rather keep out of this. So, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all the support you've given me. All the comments have always been positive, and I really enjoy talking to you guys and showing you my stuff and my content and everything I've been doing. And if you enjoy what you're saying, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and now maybe check a little bit the link of the Patreon at the bottom of this video. And see you guys in my next episode. Bye!